Good morning, friends and fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the Morning Market Prep video for May 9th, 2024. Well, yesterday we had kind of an interesting day with a bit of a mix going on in the market, and this morning we're seeing just a tiny little bit of bearishness to start the day. But how about we take a look at what happened overnight? So bear with me as I run through a bunch of tickers here this morning. First off, if we take a look at Asian markets last night, Asian markets were mixed, mostly lower, with Hong Kong higher by 1.22% and Shanghai higher by 0.83%. All the rest of the Asian markets were lower last night. Let's take a look at Europe. European markets are also a little bit mixed this morning, but we're seeing some bullishness in the DAX, the FTSE, and the CAC, but very modest gains there on the European side of things. They're waiting on a Bank of England rate decision this morning that's largely expected to keep the rates flat. Let's take a look at U.S. futures. Right now we have U.S. futures just slightly lower. Dow futures right at this moment are down 66 points. We got S&P futures down, NASDAQ futures down as well. So a little bit of bearishness to start out the day. One of the reasons that is the case is because we have bonds. Bonds are moving up this morning. 2-year bond is at 4.84%. The 10-year bond has moved up back above 4.5% at 4.51, and the 30-year bond at 4.66. Likely a result of all of those Fed speakers really saying, hey, higher for longer. So no big surprise there. If we take a look at oil this morning, oil is moving up. If you saw those numbers yesterday, we had a decline in supplies. And so oil is finding a little bit of a move to the upside. We're up 0.71% or 0.7. We're up 71 cents at 79.70 a barrel. Brent is up 65 cents at 84.23 a barrel, and natural gas being down about a penny so far this morning. We're seeing the dollar getting a little bit stronger here today, so consequently we have gold just a little bit lower this morning. At this very second, gold is down $4 an ounce. However, silver is looking for an upside move up almost 29 cents here this morning. Copper slightly lower, and platinum and palladium are getting modest gains here at this moment this morning. And then if we take a look at cryptos, well, those cryptos are having a little bit of a rough day again today with that strengthening dollar. We have Bitcoin down $1,067 a coin here at the moment, with only Litecoin up just tiny bit, up 31 cents here. So most cryptos are lower here this morning. Let's take a, well, I guess that is kind of the full list of what we wanted to cover here this morning. So how about we settle in and let's buckle up and get ready for the Thursday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Let's see if we can take a look at these charts, see if we can gain a little bit of information about what or how we might want to approach the market for today. Remember, one of the things we need to do is we need to look at the charts for what they are, not for what they want them to be. Try to push that bias aside a little bit when you're analyzing a chart, and it will help you an awful lot to be able to see what the clues are in the index charts, in your individual trading charts, all of those. The price is always trying to give us clues if we're willing to look. So if we shake off that bias, well, we can see some of those clues here in the market. First off, let's take a look to the bullish side. If the bulls can continue to push here on the diamonds, and diamonds really had a good day yesterday, and except for the S&P 500 or the SPY, which managed to close 1 nickel higher yesterday. Everything else was lower, and you can see that the diamonds had the best of the day yesterday. Nice little bullish run here to the upside, pushing up into some resistance areas here in the chart, and we'll want to be keeping an eye on that because we're running into all of this price congestion up in here. But if the bulls can push on through that level, then pushing right up in here to test this resistance high looks like the next level that we could move to. Breaking through there, I'm going to suggest we come right up into here, and then we're probably looking at that opportunity of stretching all the way up here to see whether or not we can take out the all-time high here in the diamonds. Now, if the bears were to find inspiration here today, well, pretty easy to see here. A pushback in here to test this support wouldn't be that big of a surprise. Beyond that point, we're probably going to start looking at levels like these as we progressively push back down, relieving some of that buy pressure. Now, the worry would be if we were to fall back down too far in here, we've got a big gap that could be filled here in the market. So keep an eye on that. And also keep in mind that as we push back, we've got a 50-day moving average that could provide us a little bit of support here as we push back. So we'll want to watch that carefully as well. If we take a look at our SPY squeaking out just a tiny little gain yesterday of a nickel at the close, and you can see kind of a pattern here that is a bit uncertain. If this were a dark candle, everyone would look at that as an evening star pattern. Well, we gapped down yesterday morning and managed to push back up here with the lift in the diamonds, but as you can see, maybe a hint of a consolidation beginning to happen in here, where we may just rest above our 50-day moving average and consolidate a little bit out toward this trend. Now, looking at the chart for the bullish side of things, if we can continue to push, well, we'll need to see a break of that little area right there. See if we can break that high in the chart, and then we're going to start moving up progressively through these areas in the chart to see if we can break on out to all-time highs. So kind of keep an eye on that as we start moving up through these areas, or if we start moving up through those areas and those resistance or places in the chart. Now, if the bears were to find inspiration here today, then we want to keep in mind that this area here served as a support yesterday. So the bottom side of that candle we'd want to be watching. Any push down below here, well, then we run that risk. We're testing the low of this candle and maybe even falling in to this little gap right in here. In that pushback. Now, nothing in there would be a major problem because, as you can see, if we came back into here, we still have this upside trend in the chart that could hold us in that area. Where things would get a little bit ugly is if we push down below that trend and we have this big gap down here. That could be worrisome for the market. We'll also want to be keeping in mind we've got a 50-day moving average right here that could hold us. So pushing down through this area, that's where we're going to run into a little bit of concern, possibly some nice support in this area, however, if that 50-day holds. Now let's take a look at our QQQ. Our QQQ also running into just kind of an interesting pattern here. We're in this wedging formation, and like I said, one of the things that would be really healthy for the market after such a big run is to just consolidate for a while, just rest, shake off some of this wild price action swings that we've been seeing in the market, and provide a base from where we can either push to the upside or push to the downside. Now, I rarely get what I want in the market, but that would be a nice, healthy thing to see. And you can maybe see that possibility that we may be consolidating a little bit underneath this downtrend here in the chart. We're struggling with breaking through that area at the moment. So if the bulls can push through this area up here, first thing we want to do is break through that big black candle and this little high here in the chart. Once again, if this were a black candle right here, we'd all be talking about the evening star pattern showing itself here in the QQQ. If we can push on through there, however, we'll start looking at some additional levels up in here, probably something, probably drew that a little bit high, but somewhere right through there. And then we'll start looking at the tops of these candles, and then possibly an all-time high breakout if we can start pushing up through those levels in the market. One of the things we're going to need a little bit more inspiration to get things done, because if you noticed here in these charts, look at how the volume has been declining so substantially. As we're rallying, we're really running out of that upside energy. If you look at the SPY, same thing. If you look at the diamonds, little bit of a push up yesterday with that enthusiasm there, but just a lot of weakness here in the market, just not a lot of enthusiasm to move back to the upside. If we take a look at the bearish side of this on the QQQ, well, then right here we could see that little support pushing back down into there. If we hold there, we're in good shape. We could just consolidate here for a while. But if we break below there, little tiny gap that could be filled here in that chart, and then that possibility that we'd push back and test that high right here of that candle. We'll want to be watching carefully for that, because if that doesn't hold, then we're probably looking at testing this upside trend and maybe even falling into this substantial gap on the QQQ. So keep an eye on that. Remember, we always think about the markets going up or the markets going down. Remember that the markets tend to go sideways. They spend a whole lot more time in consolidation than they do going up or down. So once again, if we were to get a little bit range bound and consolidate here, probably be a good thing for the market. If we look at our IWM, IWM left behind this ugly pattern here, and you can see we still have a window on this side. So this really does set itself up for that shooting, or that more evening star pattern, despite the fact that we have a white candle here on that move, because we left this gap behind in the chart. Now, that being said, if the bulls can push through here today, then where I'd be looking for is a little bit of resistance right there. We need to push back up into there, fill that gap, and then we're probably starting to look right across here where we're going to come up and test the high of that candle, pushing on up. And if we can pump through there, well, we're going to be looking up into here and then right up into this major resistance area here in the chart. And I say that because this is that big area in the chart that goes back here. It's a multi-year resistance area that we'll want to be paying attention to. If those bears, however, were to find that inspiration, then we're going to look for a push down here in the chart. You can see if we break yesterday's low, pretty high probability, I think, at that point we'd be coming back to test this area price support. And we will want to notice that right there is a gap. So if we were to slip into that gap, we could easily come all the way back, test this upside trend. Now, breaking that area here in the chart, if we were to break through that trend, next level down would probably be right into here, and then of course then we're looking down in this area of the chart, which would be a very substantial move for the market. Let's take a look. Oh, by the way, moving averages here, we're setting right there on our 50-day moving average, really close to it anyway. So if we start breaking this area, there's going to be a little bit of worry there in the Russell, as we may lose that 50-day moving average if the bears were to really start pushing there. Let's take a look at our VIX. I got to tell you, when you look at the VIX, there's no fear here in the market. None. No fear. The market is so uber confident here at the moment, despite the fact that there's a lot of reasons not to be all that confident. But as you can see, very confident with the VIX falling all the way back down here. We ended up closing right there at 13 handles. We start dropping below into those 12 handles and 11 handles, we're going to be in a major complacency area here of the market. So keep that in mind. We'll see if we can keep all that energy going with earnings continuing to supply the hype here in in the market, but let's watch for that possibility, because if we do get a reversal here, I would expect to see a reversal to be a little bit painful, and we may see a lot of folks run for the door at the same time. So watch that carefully. This is a very, very steep downtrend in this chart, just like we had this really steep uptrend here, giving it back. So watch that carefully. If we happen to have any stumble in the market, well, that pushback up here could be a little bit faster than a lot of folks might appreciate. So watch that carefully. If we take a look at our T20s here in the market, T2122 pulled back a little bit, no particular worries there. Early in the morning we were down here right around 50%, but then that Dow rallied up, that helped out quite a bit. And as you can see here, we ended up having more stocks selling off than going up yesterday. No particular worries though, because it wasn't energetic. There just wasn't any major energy to the bears, just like there wasn't a whole lot of energy to the bulls yesterday. So we'll have to keep an eye on this. But if the bulls can find inspiration here today, we certainly have opened a nice little upside opportunity if those bulls can get inspired. And if the bears were to find some reason to get inspired today, well, then of course we have opened a pretty good opportunity here to the downside as well. So kind of keep that in mind. If we take a look at our T2108, well, our T2108 did pull back yesterday, but again, nothing terrible here. There just wasn't all that much energy in the market. You will notice that we fell back below the 50% area here, percentage of stocks above the 40-day, but not so much as to be a major problem. Still have this upside trend in here, and we still have support levels underneath. So I don't think this was any big deal yesterday. It certainly showed that the bears didn't have any energy at the moment, even though the bulls seem to be running out of a little bit of enthusiasm as well. So kind of a punt if you ask me. And then T2107, also little tiny pullback here, still holding well above our 50% area in here. And as you can see, we may have reacted a little bit negatively to some price resistance in the chart, but we've got good price support underneath. So no particular worries here. It just shows that, at least at the moment, bulls and bears are maybe somewhat in agreement. We're running out of inspiration to really get fired up. We'll have to wait and see if all of the earnings today, and we have a huge earnings day, to maybe fire up some of that inspiration. If we take a look at our T2101, well, interestingly enough, yesterday we did see this little pop up here with breadth improving yesterday on that move. And it does make me wonder if we, even though our volumes were really low, if we're starting to see some of those corporate buybacks beginning to happen here in the market. Remember, I was talking about that earlier this week, that a large number of companies, about 60-70% of the companies, are slipping out from under their blackout period, and corporate buybacks may be beginning in just kind of a mild way. It could also be that we saw, because we had more stocks selling yesterday than going up, that maybe we caught a little bit of a breadth improvement on the bearish side there yesterday. So keep a close eye on this. We really need to see a bit more energy for those bulls or bears to give us confidence in any direction right now. And it may be telling us that we are slipping into a bit of a consolidation and choppy area of the market. Let's take a look at our economic calendar for today. And our economic, well, just a second. There we go. I had to pause the video just a second because I forgot to bring up the economic calendar. Today we're going to have to deal with maybe a little bit more market moving type data here with the jobless claims number. Keep an eye on this. Consensus is looking for 212,000. We'll want to watch that carefully. Remember, our number last Friday showed an increase in that joblessness. So we'll want to watch this carefully because we may start seeing this creep up. There was evidence yesterday, some data coming out that credit card applications, credit card things are just really collapsed last month. So what I think we're seeing here is consumers slowing way down in the market. That could be good for the Fed cutting rates and in bringing that inflation down, but it also may start signaling that we're slipping into recession. So keep a close eye on these numbers. This could move us today here pretty substantially. Pardon me. If this number happens to be hot and show us a decline in this, that would probably push those bond yields higher here. If we happen to see a big change where all of a sudden we're starting to see more folks go on to unemployment, then we're likely to see those bonds ease up and maybe help us with that idea of inflation coming down and giving the Fed the cover to maybe cut rates later on this year. After that, we've got a natural gas report, some bond announcements, some bond auctions, and a Fed balance sheet here at the end of the day. So once we get through that, another boring economic calendar day. Looking into Friday, well, doggone it. Look at the list of Fed speakers here. We've got Bauman, Logan, Kashkari, Goolsbee, Barr, all will be speaking on Friday. If we want to throw some uncertainty into the market, get those folks out there talking, and the market will be watching that pretty closely. We'll have a consumer sentiment in there as well, and our Treasury statement. So let's take a look at our earnings calendar here for the day, and it is a big one. We've got a lot of companies, over 320 companies reporting earnings today. Now, I will admit, not the kind of companies that move the market dramatically, but there's way too many for me to cover here this morning. So things like PZZA, PZZA will be reporting today. We're going to hear from Yeti. We're going to hear from FA. We're going to hear from Fiverr. This morning we've got HGV in there. We've got Hyatt Hotels reporting this morning. So keep an eye on some of those this morning. This afternoon, after the bell, we have a few more that are a bit more notable. AKAM will be reporting this afternoon. We're going to hear from ARRY. We've got BW in there. We're going to hear from DIOD. We're going to hear from G. We're going to hear from Marathon, MARA, and MTD. So a few stocks for us to be kind of keeping an eye on here for today. So watch those closely as all of these earnings roll out. It's going to be a busy day. And what if you want to get the full list of notables, make sure you click the link just below the title of the video, in the description of the video, and that'll take you back to the morning blog where you can catch that full list of notables. So how about we take a look at some stocks that could be setting up for today? But before we do that, everyone, just really quick, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube. Also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor, and that would be click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps that channel to continue to grow. Thank you so much for everyone who does take the time to do that. I do my best to answer all of those, and because it does mean a lot to me. And thank you, everyone, just remembering that even an emoji counts as an engagement with a video. So I know it gets monotonous, and I certainly understand responding to a daily video, but thank you so much to everyone who does continue to do that. And also for those who are sharing these videos out on your social media feed. Let's take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up. Remember, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence. Be very, very careful here in the market, and make sure that you're following your rules, your guidelines. Never ever blindly follow anyone else's trade ideas. They need to fit your risk tolerances. Let's take a look here in whoops, I meant to go to here. Boy, one of the things that really made a big impression here yesterday was stocks here in the financial sector. Although we're hearing more and more stories about defaults, Country Garden in China is defaulting on debt payments. They are in a wind-up order in court in Hong Kong. We're also hearing about more deals are starting to happen here in the United States. There was one of the tallest skyscrapers in Texas transferred to someone else for a 91% discount of what it was just 3 years ago, and we're starting to hear about more and more of those commercial real estate loans coming into a major problem, and many of those come into that potential default area here in 2025. So we'll have to keep a close eye on that. But right now, what we're seeing here in the market, no one is concerned about any of that. And we can see we had a really good day here in the financials trying to push to the upside. As a matter of fact, I sent an alert yesterday to members of Hit and Run Candlesticks and Right Way Options for this chart here in PNC Financial. Notice we're holding up here in this nice little upside trend. We've got an inverted head and shoulders pattern showing in this chart. Nice bullish engulfing candle. Boy, if that starts breaking through up here, might be of interest because we may just push on through here to the top side. You can see the same kind of patterns here in Citibank, and there is a lot going on right now in those big financials. So I would keep a close eye. Nice little inverted pattern, chance that we could pop through those levels. Take a look at the regional bank area here. Regional banks had a good day as well. Breaking that downtrend and resting sideways here, we found a bullish engulfing candle here trying to push up. Now we're a little bit away from trend here yet, but as long as we hold in this area, if we continue to see that confidence here in these regionals. Now I will warn you that the regionals have the biggest exposure to the commercial real estate problem, but watching that closely, that is a very bullish chart at the moment, maybe taking that shot to move to the upside. I would watch that pretty carefully. Take a look at 3M. I've been mentioning 3M here lately. Nice little bullish candle showing up yesterday right where we want to see it, right off of price support and trend. I would keep a close eye on that. If we can get any inspiration in the market today, that possibility that we might push on through that area, watch that one pretty closely, looking pretty good overall. I was watching this TEVA for a potential trade, and of course earnings messed up everything. Unless you gambled on earnings, you had to gamble on the earnings to take advantage of that move. That thing took off like a rocket after earnings yesterday, moving to the upside. So here's your upside trend. What I would be doing at this point is I'd be watching for that little rest consolidation to come into here, see if it can find some support here in the chart, see if it can rest back in toward that trend, and I'd be looking for that next opportunity there in TEVA. Take a look at some of the miners here. GDX, despite the fact that we've had a strengthening dollar, we're seeing some strength coming into this as well. Little upside trend. Now, obviously, we've got some resistance here in the chart to be watching, but go look at some of those gold and silver miners. They're starting to show some signs of bullishness here in the market. And if we take a look at silver in particular, silver having this nice little break of a downtrend, kind of resting out here toward the trend here, and you can see we've got that bullishness coming in here. We may push up here and fill this gap, test that resistance here in the chart. Keep an eye on silver making some moves. Gold's not looking quite so good, but at least we slipped out from underneath that downtrend and maybe trying to show a little bit of bullishness in that chart. Now, another place that you may want to be keeping an eye on, take a look what's happening here in natural gas. Now, natural gas has just been down, hated for a long time here, but we might be reaching maybe a bottoming pattern here, breaking this downtrend, pushing up, a little resting pullback in here. I would start keeping an eye on UNG. There may be some opportunities here, and you could look at like if you prefer like Boyle would be another one, breaking that downtrend, trying to hold a little bit of price support. Look for that next opportunity in there for that to push on up in the chart. Take a look at TLT. Now, one of the things that we have been seeing, obviously, is those bond yields going up. And as bond yields go up, that is pulling back the 20-year Treasury bond ETF here, as you can see. But we also have this potential that we could be pulling back here into a support and a bit of an upside trend. So if we happen to see all of a sudden something in the news that moves, perhaps jobs numbers, that moves those bond yields back down, keep an eye on this. We could catch that higher low in here. Maybe moving that up to the upside is something you want to be paying attention to. Now, other places here, we're hearing quite a little bit of trouble in the wheat market here because of issues in Ukraine causing trouble. We've had a nice little upside run here in wheat, and we're running into some resistance here in the chart. But watch that carefully. If this rests back in here, pops on through that area, well, we've got some big potential upside then on wheat. You can see this has been moving down for a long time. We could see some nice moves to the upside on that. I'm going to also say the same thing on corn. If you take a look at here, we had a nice pullback yesterday. With that dollar going up, we're likely to see commodities pull back, but watch that carefully in here. If we can hold this support and maybe hold on to trend here, keep an eye on corn potentially for that next upside move here in the market. And I've got to continue to keep mentioning XLU. I've been harping on XLU for quite a while here, and XLU just continues to move to the upside very strongly. Now, here soon, this is going to get some kind of a rest or pullback, so I wouldn't want to be jumping in on this just yet. But typically, you would not see utilities running with such a strong move to the upside if the market is this bullish, because what it is that people go to utilities for is safety. They go there for dividend yields, and something that we're always going to need, even if the market starts to go into recession. We need utilities, so keep an eye on that. Any resting pullback would set up an opportunity there. So with that, everyone, hey, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. I want to wish you great profits in your trading. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks for listening and responding to these videos. I truly appreciate it. Everyone, take care. As always, I wish you all the best, and I'll see you right back here bright and early Friday morning.